Okay, I'll call the meeting to order, 4 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. Roll call.
Mark Dennis.
Here.
Nate Tormellan.
Here.
Bonnie Good. Here. Tim Harden.
Here.
JJ Reinhardt.
Here.
John Kelly.
Here. Sounds like we have a quorum. Thank you, Bonnie. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes? Any comments or questions, or I'd entertain a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. And a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any public hearings, Mayor? Bonnie, did you want to make a motion? Good.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to include our discussion of Main Street under old business, part 4. So we can continue.
So we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, old business. Jackie?
I am here on behalf of JCEC and the Workforce Partnership to request the $290,000. We outlined per your request, Dan said he outlined the committed 5 years so that you'll have an idea of future years on that. So just a couple, you received the report. I'm not going to bore you with going through all of it, just going to highlight a couple things. So in terms of the VU program, to date we have nearly 100 people that have gone through, and outside of the big 3 that initially funded it, which was Valio, Cummins, and Ison, we've had 10 additional industries that have sent companies. Ready 2, it's been approved for the advanced course and a small addition to JCLC, so that'll be coming up here shortly. So there's a report in there from Amy Heidemann for JCLC, and just a couple things on my report from the partnership. The Maverick Challenge is going good again this year. We have 11 teams. We had a tie for 10th, so we're going to have 11 teams in the oral presentations coming up in March. And the robotics, we're over 200 students in the county that are in the robotics program. That includes 18 public, private schools, a program at the Boys and Girls Club homeschool, and we added 4-H. So last week we had our county tournament that's sponsored by us, by JCIDC. It gives all the students in the county an opportunity to compete, and it's gotten so big that we had to have the elementary kids in the morning and the middle school kids in the afternoon. So it's really, it's going great. So, and the rest of my report's in there. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Jackie?
I'd just like to say thank you for sending us a report early so we could go through it and look at it.
We appreciate your
Looks
support.
like you're doing a lot of great work. Thank you.
Yeah, just a reminder, this is part of a 5-year commitment that we made, so this is just approving year 3 of the 5 years. So, Thank you. So we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Second.
Second.
Any other discussion?
It's part of the claims, isn't it? I think it's on the
Is it
claims.
part, yeah, it is. That's right.
Yeah, so I don't think we need to do a motion.
I guess we approved the whole 5-year plan before.
Forward, so that we just, I think
Yeah,
just approving
yeah.
the claims docket would be
Yeah, you're probably
sufficient, so.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
Withdraw the motion. Okay.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Jackie, good luck. Dan, Spark Shop.
Good afternoon, everyone. As promised, I'm here just to give an update on the project so you kind of understand where we're at with your investment dollars in this project. We actually got started with construction back in December with a lot of demo work. The existing concrete floor had to be demoed out of the space to get us to the correct grade to keep water out of the building. We thought that would be important over time to do that. So did all that demo work, a little bit of a shutdown for a couple weeks due to weather, but we are back up and running. There's a lot of activity happening over at the space today. But I'll just kind of walk you through the overview of the project. This report was given by Waypoint Strategies, who's our owner's rep partner in this project. Just a reminder, our partners in this locally are Gerger Construction, High Day Construction, We use Design Point Architecture out of Indianapolis to do our drawings, and then NITEC out of Brownstown is handling all of our technology and stuff, and Waypoint, as I mentioned, is our owner's rep. So we've gone through design, we've got our state permitting, construction bidding is done, we've secured all the financing we needed to continue to move forward with the project, and we're estimating that construction will be completed, we're just saying summer, this summer sometime, so probably July, August, honestly, is when we expect that it'll be done. Once we get that concrete floor poured in there, it'll be off to the races. It's just building on that concrete floor at that point. So things will start to move pretty quickly. You see all the status update there, all the activities to date, the highlights, and then next steps are just basically getting through construction, that process, and we are exploring some additional funding that might help us in the future with operational things as well. So that's been good. We've secured nearly $100,000 in addition to our public partners that have been a part of this project. On top of what the Chamber Foundation is investing in the project, we have about $100,000 of local companies that have also invested in the project. So we like kind of having all those cords woven together into the project, that we have federal dollars, we have state dollars, county, Seymour dollars, local dollars, like all those things together in the project, which we believe creates a health throughout the project. And the last page is some pictures, kind of like where we were when the project started, what the space looked like, and then these pictures are as of last week. Actually, they're across the bottom. If you go over there today, you'll see there's been a lot going on. The folks at Royalty have put a new roof on the building. I'd say it's probably 80-85% complete. Just a few finished things around the edges to clean up there. So it'll be nice to have it all sealed in, tucked in from the weather, from a roofing perspective. Chad Cooper was on site today, kind of forming up the new pour for the floor. The plumber was on site this afternoon, kind of trenching out some of the sub-slab plumbing infrastructure that will go in under that concrete slab. And we expect to be pouring that new concrete floor by the middle of next week. So it's moving along, and it'll just pick up pace from here. That's just kind of an overview, just kind of an update on where we're at. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Dan? It's good to see progress. It's been a long time coming.
I know. Just kind of sit there dormant for a while, but just we want to run a good project, which means we needed to hit pause for a little bit, make sure we had all of our ducks in a row before we green lighted the project. But so far, so good.
Okay.
We're happy about it.
Okay, thanks for the report.
Great. Thank you all.
Okay, the airport authority, I don't think anybody came. We told them they didn't have to. We wanted to kind of update from last month. There was some confusion about a commitment that was made by the commission a few years ago, and then the project got put on hold. They were looking for $423,000, $423,970. They have gone back and looked over their finances. They believe that because of the confusion, they can carry about $250,000 of that $423,970 for a while, but they would really love to have the $173,970. Based on what we learned from Reedy's people, we believe that's going to be doable right now, and they just want the additional $250 sometime within the next 2 years. So we need to find a way to make that happen, but it certainly is a very doable thing, and we appreciate their ability to, be flexible and work with us. So, everybody got that? So it's on the claims, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the 170.
Right. So we do still have an obligation out there, and it's been out there for about 5 years. So just want to make sure we didn't forget it. All right. Any other questions about the airport? Okay. And Seymour Main Street. Is Main Street here? Nope. So this is one that we have postponed a number of times just because we weren't completely comfortable with where we were financially. Bonnie, can you kind of lay out the requests that they made and where we are so we can take action on that.
Right, Seymour Main Street requested $350,000 for this year. Traditionally, we've given 200,000, and then last year we gave an additional 150,000 because they were buying a couple of buildings and had major projects which they have acquired, and they're still in the process of figuring some things out with those. I don't remember them saying buying additional buildings this year for the extra amount of to make that 350,000 for this year. They have already started their grant cycle. Traditionally, they use money from RDC to award grants. But Darren said last month that even if we gave them a reduced amount, they were still planning on meeting those obligations if they made those awards. So it's just up to us at this point to decide, do we want to give them 350? Do we want to do 200? What do we feel comfortable with, where we are financially, and then with the value they bring? And, we discussed last month, of course, that they do definitely bring value to our community and do a lot of good things for us. But what are we comfortable with doing right now, considering where we are financially?
I was thinking, if memory serves me, last month we were pretty much discussing just going ahead with the 200,000 as in previous years.
Yeah, that is certainly something that was discussed.
I mean, I think just for clarification, last year the request was 250 for the regular grant program and 100 for the additional.
That was the 350, yeah.
Yeah, and so the 250 was, if I'm recalling correctly, we'd been at 200 for
Right.
a long time, and through inflation, maybe it was time to go up to a higher amount, and that doesn't mean we have to stay there, obviously, but that was where that discussion landed last year, was 250 for the regular amount and then 100 for the special projects. But they also had 100 left over.
Well, I think the minutes showed
90.
No, was it that much?
I think it was
26?
I was thinking 26,000.
I think that's low. It was like 90 on the regular program and 60 on the special.
Oh, okay, yeah, they had 26,000 left from the 25 grants. I think they.
I think that was that they had
Right.
approved that they hadn't paid out yet, but the approval amount was only 160 out of the 250 that they'd approved.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes.
So if we approve 200, they've still got 90 left from last year that can apply to this year and be above the 250 that they should have had last year.
So does somebody want to make a motion as to what we might want to do with them for 2026?
Well, I still had a couple questions
Okay.
on their grant process, and I don't know if your experience with them can answer those, or if we definitely need to ask her. But when they sent us a payout sheet of what they had paid on different projects, I'm assuming anything that was paid, even if it was to a subcontractor, come under the same grant. Like there's instances where there's 2 or 3 payments on the same address to different parties. So I'm assuming that all came under the same grant.
Correct.
And I know that they said that they have a guideline that a person can apply for something every, once every other year, 24 months. And is that, it wasn't spelled out in there, but is that per property or per person as an individual?
I think it's per project, if I remember right. Is anybody familiar with, I used to be on the board, and I believe it was per project. So like, for instance, when Bat and Barrel was creating themselves, they got $50,000 or whatever it was, and they knew that they couldn't get any more money for at least 2 years. And I don't think they were wound up asking for any more money, but I believe that was always in the back of their mind, that we have to wait 2 years to get any more money. So I believe that's the way it works.
Well, I knew they had distributed funds under different projects to the same individual, maxing those out. And if there's no limitations on number of grants they can apply for, we could end up with one individual taking a large chunk of what we give to them. which would eliminate some other people possibly getting funding. So I don't know if that's a concern, that putting too much into one area. And
I guess just to address that, in my opinion, once we give them the money, it's up to them to dole it out. So, once we have granted them whatever we grant them, I don't think it's fair to us to go back and tell them to change their rules. Now, if we want to say future funding is based on, certain rules, I guess we have the right to do that because it's our money. But I don't believe that that's part of our purview, is to tell them how to spend their money.
and that's why I just wanted some clarification, and I don't know how this fits. Like, there's one project that they maxed out the $20,000 allotment, shown on the property, but then, and that's on 210 West 2nd Street. But then below that, there's a Four Little Birds LLC with the same address that drew 31,000. So you've got one person drew 20,000 on that address, and an LLC drawing 31,000 on that address. So I'm like, is this LLC a total different entity, or how are they doing this under the same address with the guidelines that I'm seeing that they projected to us?
I mean, again, I don't think once we've given them the money, we can do anything about that. So if we want to change the way we grant the money, that we can do.
Like I say, my biggest question, like I say, not going back and changing the way they did that, but if it's circumventing the guidelines that we approved the money for based on what we understood or knew, then I'm a little concerned of the way things are being operated. If that's a total different situation, that's why I was just looking for some clarification before I, because if we can say, well, this guy can draw a grant on this and this LLC can draw a grant on the same thing, and it's the same owners, then I don't see that's in good faith.
Yeah, I just don't know how to answer the question. I get the concern. Anybody else have thoughts about that?
Well, I'm trying to pull it up to see if that's on that spreadsheet. My computer's running slow. But I mean, I guess if one was 20 and one was 30, 31, but if it was 50 total, maybe that was the project and they just, part of the grant just got paid directly to a contractor instead of all to the owner, and then he filtered it out. I'm not sure how that would work, but I mean, that could be a possibility. There is some got paid to the owner and some got paid directly to a contractor, but it was all one $50,000 grant for that building.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a comment, JJ?
Well, I can understand where Tim was coming from. It's just like,
Yeah.
you award grant to a person and then the person establishes themselves an LLC and then you give them more money. When I think someone that wants to come in and revamp a building and remodel and everything, put money into it. I'm trying to think of the word I want to use. A developer. We're financing a developer plus a person. And I agree with you though, but if we're going to change the rules, we don't need to do it in midstream.
I mean, we're not midstream yet because we haven't granted anything. So, I mean, is there a suggested change that you'd like to make?
I'm not sure the best way to word this, in legally, the type of thing.
Welcome to the old man world.
And like I said, I know we can't do anything from this point back, and I'm not looking at that, but I don't know how we could limit it as far as if it's per property or that you can only get a grant per property every 2 years or a grant.
I mean, I think that's I'm just looking at this now. I got it pulled up on my phone. I mean, The one you're talking about, 210 got 19,000 to Hade Property Group,
Mm-hmm.
and then 210 got directly to Four Little Birds, 31,000. My guess is that's 50 for that project, and then they're not going to be eligible at that address unless it changes ownership hands again until
2 years after that, yeah.
2027 would be the earliest that they would be eligible to apply for another grant.
Because that would come under their second guideline, because the first was like 20,000 if the, 20,000 Main Street, 20,000 self-funded, or you could go 50,000 Main Street with 100,000 self-funded.
And I mean, based on what's the improvements to that building, my guess is they've spent at least 100,000. I mean,
Yep.
they've really done a lot of work on that building at this point, so.
So is the Four Little Birds, do you know, is it a separate entity? Is this for build out or?
I mean, it says build out on both of them. So, I mean, I think that, I mean, Hade Group is not Four Little Birds. That's I mean, I think Hade Group just did work for them. So it got paid directly to them because they were the contractor one of the contractors on the build out. And so part of it got directly to Hade, and then part of it got to the LLC to spend, you know, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously we'd have to see the grants and the invoices, but I don't, I mean, my read of it is they're not doing anything outside of their own guidelines.
Right,
I mean,
I guess we're not here to adjudicate how they're handling their program. You know, if we want to table this another month, we certainly can do that and have them come back and explain or give us documentation as to what the programs are. But my guess is their programs haven't changed in 10 plus years. So if we want to, you know, get a little more granular with what restrictions we place on their money, we can. But that, to me, that's a whole different discussion.
Well,
They've made a request.
and you'll, in looking at that, like I say, could answer the question of why there's 50,000 on that project. But if, y'all are,
I mean, I just to
comfortable
give you
with the way-
give you another example, Tim. You know, 101 North Chestnut. I know which building that is without looking it up, but there's 4 different grants right in a row. One went to Hade, one went to What's Up Electrical, and then 2 to NITEC. I mean, I think some get sent directly to a contractor that's doing work, and then some go to the building owners themselves. And I don't know what you know, how that gets distinguished, but you know, and none of them are over $4,000. The total, you know, amount isn't anywhere close to 50, but it's, you know,
Well,
it's 4 different grant numbers in that.
those 4 maxed out at 20,000, which is the first guideline.
Yeah.
It does max out to 20. And was my first question, was clarifying if anything paid to subs would come under that same grant, or if subs were allowed to put in a separate grant.
I think
for
it's all
any
by property address.
Okay.
That's my understanding, is it's property address.
Okay, well, that clarifies a whole lot and clears that up. So, because each of those, there's 3 of them, 2 are 20,000 on properties that Hade was involved in. One was the 19, which come back to the 31 on the other. So, with those explanations and comments, I'm would be okay in moving forward. My suggestion would be to do the 200,000, especially since they have some left over from last year. And
So you making that a motion?
I'll move that we approve 200,000 for a Main Street grant program.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate the concern. I do. Okay, any other new business? Not seeing any. Cole, who's coming up here?
I'll go under miscellaneous, Mark, if you were looking at me.
I was.
Okay,
Okay,
well, I was answering Frishy's question, sorry.
he's that way.
Great to see y'all again. I'm gonna go ahead and dive right in. We got A lot of stuff to go over with you guys today, so if you would like to join me on page 5 of the full report, go ahead and get started. Claims, of course, as we kind of mentioned, are broken out by fund right there with the airport and the Education Coalition grant, going to Tech Park and the miscellaneous fund. You'll see the professional services were coming out of the Silgan Allocation Area Fund, as we talked about. The only other thing being the on-call engineering claims from Gonzalez. After we've kind of looked into those invoices in more detail, we've kind of found out that it may be pretty hard to pay those out of the Silgan area, trying to argue that it benefits that economic development area, because really the only ones that would be able to are ones that are O'Brien Street related, and the other ones wouldn't be able to, and there was a lot of other ones. So instead, what we're going to do there is keep those on-call engineering claims out of the main TIF fund, and then just have Silgan pay for some of O'Brien Street. That will get updated next report for you guys once we get all those numbers moved around, but just a couple of housekeeping things there. Next, page 6, you guys' monthly cash balance page. The reason why we had sent an updated report earlier this morning was because normally your monthly has all of your capital outlays kind of annualized with how much you have remaining versus how many months are left in the year to pay for things, unless there are known expenditures coming in specific months that we can throw in here. That is something we have done now. First one being June 2026 in your capital outlays. You'll see we input the large O'Brien Street construction amount that's going to come then. And then second one being in January of 2027, there'll be another larger payout then. And we've input those into here and annualized everything else. This was just to truly give you a more accurate look at what cash should look like over the next however many months and years going into 27. I'm sure you noticed the cash flows on the far right column there. Matt can go into more detail with the stuff we have proposed for you guys there. But then I'll move on now to your page 8, fund tab here for the main fund. The East Side Industrial Infrastructure projected 2026 amount has been updated. The project was awarded at a lower amount than what we had as total, so it's slightly decreased from what we had originally. This is to include a 50-50 ready match. Now, ready may even go up to $2 million, but we're doing the 50-50 split just to be safe, so it could be even less than that. And then, as you guys just approved, we'll update the Main Street amount there in 26 as well. And then, of course, we'll update the engineering on call and O'Brien Street amounts appropriately based on what Silgan will do for that. We'll probably recommend that Silgan just pay whatever it was going to pay for the on-call engineering services. That's how much it'll pay towards O'Brien Street. Maybe a little bit more since there's a little more in that fund. But that's kind of the gist of those. And take you on to page 9. Mayor may be talking to you guys about this today as well. There are a couple of changes to the O'Brien Street amounts. So between 2026 through 2029, we've added $100,000 more in each line item for O'Brien Street there for phase 5 costs. And each of those may carry over into other years depending on how much is actually spent. And then there was $200,000 added to 2030's amount as well. And then if there's still any that's unspent that needs to carry over to 2031, that may happen as well. But those are updated on your page 9 and on page 8 too. So that's updates on O'Brien Street. Another update on page 10 for you guys that we wanted to bring up is the Bushman allocation area and its residential parcels that are part of that TIF. The software has kind of changed the way it does certain things, and now it's artificially increasing the base of that TIF area, which is causing revenues to decrease there. So one thing we're going to do is take all those residential parcels out so that that base value of the TIF quits getting increased. And that's just something we'll work with Rich Starkey on and get that all done this year for you guys to get those out of there so that the TIF quits getting harmed. Next,
So when you say the software, you're talking about DLGF software.
This would be, it's called WOW. It's the software that the county uses for parcel level data. Yeah, we'll work with them. We'll work with the auditor. We'll work with Rich, and we'll be coming back with that stuff too. Moving on to page 11, your miscellaneous fund. I think Matt was wanting to talk to you guys about this as well, but you'll see that revenue line there that has 189,000 in it. Part of that is, I think, roughly 169,000 of it is coming from this old 2011 debt service reserve fund that just had money sitting in it that is no longer needed. I think we may want to have that go into the main TIF fund now instead, with the airport's amount being less this year, and have that 169,000 roughly sent to the main TIF fund. You'll see the updated airport amount for 2026, and then you'll see the 250,000 coming in 2028. If you guys would like to see that 250,000 a different way, we can change it to however you guys would like to give that to them. We just went ahead and put 250,000 in 2028 to start. But I wanted to see if that was okay with you guys.
So the expectation then is the 2 years that they asked for, we're gonna go to the end of the 2 years?
It's up to you guys.
Okay, but I mean, that's what's reflected here.
That's what's reflected here as like a, what time we have. We always can move it up if you guys are willing to do it sooner.
Okay.
Is that something that it would be beneficial to split into 2 payments, and would that work with them, or are we better off to just do it all?
It's a great question. Can we put a pin in it until we hear from Matt in a little bit? Because there's some other things that are coming.
So then I'll take you on to page 13 for your Silgan Area Fund. The professional services are flowing into there, as we'd mentioned. The projected amount may change now that we'll move on-call engineering back into the main TIF fund, and then we'll update Silgan's fund with its O'Brien Street projection. Tech Park had its 2026 Education Coalition grant put in there. Jim and I will be working on its recertification here in March and April. So hopefully no issues there. We've already been talking with them at the state. We'll update the 27 and 28 projected amounts with the 5-year path that you guys were just talking about earlier. And then other than that, the contracts page has been updated, and I think that's all I have. You guys have any questions for me until Matt gets up?
Not seeing any.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Any questions on that?
Well, you were going to share with us some ideas on these negative monthly balances.
Yeah, and Mark, I know you and I kind of talked. Really, at the end of the day, we're allowed, you're allowed to go red in a fund throughout the year. We just can't end the year red. Clearly, because of our two times a year distribution of tax revenue, June to December. That's why these fluctuations are so wild, and it brings us back into the black in December. So it's not an issue unless it concerns you, I should say. Option, I know we don't want to necessarily incur interest and issue a bond if we don't have to. If you guys are that concerned, I think the lesser option than going the bond route, you could always look at issuing a ban, which is a short-term financing. You pay interest only and just infusing of cash, and then you pay it off at
Can
any
we
point.
borrow from the other funds to cover?
You can, and that's why I would recommend at this point, because we're not ending the year negative. I don't think it's something that I'd recommend you guys to incur additional costs in the form of a ban or a bond right now. Just want to make sure everyone's good. Like, we know that we can borrow funds from additional funds, dollars from additional funds, probably a better way to say that. But as long as we don't end the year in the red, that's our main concern. And, based on projections, we don't foresee that occurring.
So then back to Tim's comment. I would love to see us split that in 2 pieces, that 250. Do 125 and 27, 125 and 28.
We can reflect that.
We still wind up in the black at the end of the year. We still have to borrow funds from fund to fund. So
And the thing I'd say too, that won't help this picture just because right now we're having that 250 come out of that miscellaneous revenue fund as opposed to this fund. So that doesn't even touch this at all. So that's where I was saying we can, if you guys want to see it split into 2, really doesn't make all that much difference. I guess the only thing you could say is if we delayed doing the 250 until the 2-year mark, earn it a little bit more interest. That'd be the only thing I'd say.
I didn't know if it would help the airport out by doing it like that.
That's,
where
I
they
think,
got it sooner.
I think that's the main thing is if the airport is, needs it, or if they are truly fine waiting the 2 years. My thought is they're letting you, just from a numbers perspective, interest, earnings. If they're giving us 2 years, but it's not my decision, obviously.
I mean, you were in the conversation as well.
I think I'd prefer to do it, split it in two personally. I mean, I think that they're doing us a favor.
Yes.
They are doing us.
Yes.
So we
Yep.
can be fair back and
Absolutely.
if we can swing it, then let's do it that way to
Okay.
kind of split the difference there.
Yep, we can update that. I just wanted to drill a little bit deeper on the East Side Industrial, and may not matter, but essentially, we wanted to. I think, did you mention the 50-50 versus the 2 million? You did mention that. Okay, so that 810,000, there's a chance that comes lower. We just have to see what the state's going to do as far as the ready piece. And if we can't get the full 2 million versus a straight up 50-50 match, because that project came in at 377 as opposed to the 4 that was initially projected. So if they are allowing, or if they are going to allocate 2 million, obviously that cuts down your guys' cost a little bit more. So that would help that monthly cash flow and that total amount as well. To Cole's point on the shifting of the, our recommendation last month was to move the on-call engineering, but we needed to look into it a little bit more in depth. And I know he kind of discussed, some of those invoices are, including other things. It'd be difficult to break those out. This is just for O'Brien. This is for other services, which is why we were like, hey, let's shift some of the actual O'Brien Street construction cost over there instead. I mean, we can do the same amount. Really just comes down to what is your comfort level as far as that SILGAN allocation area fund balance. If you look at it, like I said, right now, if we shift dollar for dollar what we were projecting on-call engineering, we're projecting we end the year in that fund with $111,111. As I said last month, not using that fund for anything else. So is it worth just having an account with 100,000, 111,000 or not? It's totally up to you guys. So essentially I'm saying we could maybe add 50 more to that as far as paying for O'Brien. That would alleviate Burkhart by that amount, if that makes sense.
Thoughts? I would agree.
I mean,
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
Okay.
alleviate your main fund as opposed to the fund you're not using. It's just my thought. So just what level you guys want to go to in that SILGAN allocation area fund.
I mean, there's no reason to keep any excess balance there.
I think and that's where I'm saying I think that we have some form of buffer, whether that's 50, right? Because at the end of the day, that revenue amount is a projection. But the good thing is that bond amount is not a set amount. We pay SILGAN 50% of whatever we get. So it's not like, oh, we have to get to this dollar amount to make sure we have enough for our bond payment. They're getting 50% of the revenue received. So that's where I'm saying you can afford to do a little bit lower of a year-end cash balance projection and put that fund to work some more.
Is everybody okay with 50? JJ?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll increase that. We'll make that shift. What are some other things I wanted to say? Oh, to Cole's point on the miscellaneous fund, that 169, that's that bond debt service reserve that we identified that's not needed anymore and just kind of sitting in that account. Don't need it, like I said, can shift it over. We had originally shifted it to the miscellaneous revenue, expecting the full airport obligation to come out of there, this year, right? And if we would have done that, we would have had maybe a couple bucks left in that fund, which is why we were saying, hey, let's shift over that. That way we have a reserve. We can keep it in there, or we can shift it over to Burkhart, and that once again improves cash balance throughout the year for Burkhart.
I don't see any reason not to shift it to Burkhart.
Okay. We can make that change as well.
Okay.
Any other points that I wanted to make? Cole talked about the removal of the parcels out of Bushman, so that'll be the same. We'll work with Chris and Rich, and that'll be the same 4-step process as creating an area. We just have to remove the specific parcels out of that area. Okay. And other than that, I think that's all I have for you.
Matt, the only other real quick thing on the tech park, and Cole might have said this, I'm not sure.
Yep.
Is the projection in 27 and 28 should be 300
Yep,
and 310? Okay.
We got that
Okay.
5-year agreement with
Okay.
those amounts, so we'll update that. And we were just kind of talking back there, obviously can make that work for the next couple of years. We'll just have to, once that agreement, if we are gonna sign another 5-year agreement, obviously that fund only receives $250,000
Right.
a year, right? So there's only a finite period of time where we can continue to increase it by 10 grand until the point where that fund is, cash in, cash out, and we don't have enough money for that, so.
Anything else?
Workshop set,
Yep.
June 2nd, so. April reporting. Next month, we'll be here for the April reporting, knock that out, get it done. Okay?
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Big month for us. All right, claims. Everybody had a chance to take a look at claims? Would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Nate.
I'll second.
Bonnie? Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor?
I just want to make sure I came up here and said the right things. So, first stop, so we've got the long-term, O'Brien Street Phase 5. That would, take roughly 600,000 commitment over the 5-year span. One of the problems we've had in the past is figuring out how to show that in the, projections for Reedy. So I think we come up with a way to where we put, 100,000 per year with the knowledge that the next year rolls over on what's unspent. So it's a good way though to turn 600,000 into, add another 2.7 million to it and end up in the 3.3, 3.4 range. So same as you've done before, the other 4 phases of O'Brien, you guys helped fund those, with the large lump sum typically coming at the end, like you're getting ready to see in June on phases 2 and 3. So they already figured that into the plan that you've looked at. So I do feel like though we probably need a motion to approve the project, from you guys, if you're willing to support said project.
Yeah, and so our commitment is how much in total?
600,000 roughly would be the 20% match. My employee and responsible charge and my engineer are telling me to tell you a little more than that because right-of-way may or may not change before 4 years from now. But that's also something we can tackle down the road if right-of-way does change. Because we saw that a bunch on phases 2 and 3 where the numbers really adjusted based on property values. So.
Okay, I know we've already committed a lot to that whole project, so what's everybody think about that, and is there a motion?
Same things we've already faced is a concern of what right-of-way is gonna cost us at that point when the increase we saw this time, but there's no way we're gonna guess that or judge or control it, so, is this something that you can start purchasing now for that future, or you have to wait till?
My understanding is you have to wait. There's steps that have to be completed before you get to the right-of-way phase. So we wouldn't be able to do it immediately. I know we're moving what I feel like is earlier on the right-of-way pieces on phase 1 than what we did on phases 2 and 3. But that's maybe 6 months to a year earlier, not 5 years earlier. So. Or 4 years earlier, probably technically.
I'll make a motion on the board.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Second.
Motion and second, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Motion carries.
Thank you for that one. I'll move on to the one that's a little closer to now. So I was notified by the state that with the legislature potentially passing additional funding for CCMG, that there may be another round that opens up here in the near future. I had told you, I believe it was just last month, that that pulled $1 million off the table until the 27 round, which would actually be in June. Well, if this happens, I'm going to guess they're more like an April round instead of a June round, so that would move everything up a few months compared to the June. Still, my guess is we're late enough in the season that you're probably not going to see any major expenses come out of that until spring of 27. You probably have some engineering fees and things like that on the front end, but not have the major construction. It's my understanding that compared to the project we just talked about, where you get to the end of it and you pay a lump sum piece, this project is the style where the state sends you their contribution, and it sets in a holding account and can be paid down, and it'll come out of your claims as a 50-50. So anything you would see in the fall would be on that 50-50 basis. But I know that is not figured into your current plan, so that's going to put you tighter than what your projections are.
So
And
what's that total commitment?
What's that?
What is that total commitment expected to be?
Typically, we do about 2.2 million, so your portion's about 1.2. Realistically, hopefully it comes in a little less than that with bids and everything.
That's not available.
Okay.
Because even as far out as the end of 27, we're looking at 700,000.
Okay.
And if we've got the 600 that we just approved, 100 at a time, it's 500,000. So, what are the other options for funding that?
So we moved MVH restricted for the 25 CCMG, so that account is pretty well depleted. The extra 500,000 off the top of my head, I'll have to go back to the drawing board a little bit. Worst case, we could do some of this pre-work knowing that it's going into the 27 cycle, which I do believe is figured into your numbers moving forward. Yes or no? Is 27 figured in?
Where is it?
It's projected in the
It's
CCMG
projected.
line.
There's 1.1 for 27 on.
Yeah. So that would put you into the 27 cycle, which again will be just a few months after
Okay.
the 26 cycle.
All right. So this is not something in addition to that. That's already in here.
27 is already in there.
Okay.
The ability to move it up is not so much. Now, the other thing we could do with that, which I don't think we would have this option on the 26 cycle, for the 27 cycle, we could reduce our number to get that down to fit into what is budgetable. Just do a little less work in 27 for the 27 cycle, which realistically kind of falls into the 28 season as far as payments go. We've been through CCMGs a few times over the years to realize that it's never on the year that you plan for it.
Well, I think we have to be sensitive to the projected 2026 ending balance of 760 minus the 100, so 660. So I don't think there's 1.1 million available in 26. Without some kind of bond.
Okay.
Or something like that.
And like I said, we can stick with putting it in for the 27 cycle a few months later if that's what you wish, or we can move it forward and put it in for this cycle and then plan on potentially not putting in for the 27 cycle, depending on how you want to approach it.
I mean, I don't think we're able. If I'm hearing you right.
So you're saying you couldn't do a lower,
I don't think we can change the number because we already applied once on the 26. And then when it was turned down, I think that number is still in place. So I think we would have to stick with what we had planned for 26. But in 27, we could put a lower number in for that application. if we go after the earlier date, I think we have to go with what we had submitted. If we hold off to the 27 date, then there's no problem going with that number. Like I said, I think you could change what 27's number is then to fit the plan a little better, because that cycle would open up.
I mean, we'd still be negative though at the end of the year, which we can't do without bonding if we stay at the 26 number. So,
Right, that's the way I see it.
So that 26 number would be majority payable 27. You know how that always falls about a year behind?
Can you come look at this report and let's make sure we're on the same page, because I feel like we're speaking different languages. So this $1.1 million is included in a net balance at the end of 27 to 685.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that some of that might need moved to 26? Because that's what we can't do.
What is your 26 ending balance?
Maybe I can add some flavor. I think,
Yeah.
Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, are you saying that are you saying that the 27 1.1, those projects, as we all know, get delayed, they're longer than just 1 year cycle, right? So the 27, some of that 1.1 will spill over into 28, right? Some of it will be in 27, but some of it will be in 28. And you're saying if we add on to 26, essentially, some of it will be in 26, some of it will be in 27.
Yeah,
and
like
some
right,
of 27 will be less than what we're showing right now. So we just don't know. I think that's Mark's concern.
the 27 is the unknown
There's what I'm
part.
concerned about right there.
Yeah. Well, and I think that what you more need to be concerned about is that instead of that.
Well, that's sooner.
I know, I know, but what he's saying is
No,
if we
I
apply
get it.
the
I get it. Yeah,
project,
sure.
there'll be little here, more here, but this 1.1 will be less in this year.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's an unknown. That'd be the only.
Right.
So to move forward with the engineering piece of it, you're probably looking 60,000. Which those roads that we don't use in 26 would still be roads that would go into the 27 cycle. Does that make sense? Like if we don't pursue 26, we would still use those in next year's version.
Yeah, which is already budgeted.
Yeah, which is already budgeted. So I guess the question is, do we want to get all of these ready, see what the bids come in at? That way we have a number that we can plug in.
Well, I don't know any
knowing
other
that
way
we're
to
just
do it.
spending
Yeah.
engineering money,
Right.
which we'll use in the long run, just maybe
It's not
not.
wasting money. It's just
Yeah.
changing when you spend it. Yeah.
Yeah, just spending it a little sooner, because I don't think if we do that to where we bid with the understanding that we'll take them into consideration at Board of Works. I don't think we end up in a spot, where we don't have enough time before your April meeting to have a follow-up conversation on this. Because I think at your April meeting, we should be closer. And the drawback is it depends on how long you leave bids open for. 21 days on road projects, is that the minimum?
Minimum, yeah.
So you got at least 21 days, once the engineers have everything put together before we have any bids to work off of. But again, that's just a commitment of, say, 70,000, 75,000 worth of engineering funds to get us ready.
I mean, that's
for
certainly
future.
doable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's getting us ready for future projects.
Is the benefits of trying to get it into this cycle and lowering next year's, I don't know if that benefit, how great is that? If we do it that way, can we borrow funds to cover that if we're getting a great benefit out of doing this whole amount this year? Or if we borrow, does that affect
Well, I
us
don't know that
being in
there's a
the?
financial benefit to doing it sooner, is there?
The only benefit in my mind of doing it sooner is when the initial funding came out, it was limited to the point that I think there's a lot of contractors hungry for work at the moment. So the bids may come back better because of that. But I don't know that they would be enough to make a huge difference in this. So typically for CCMG, the state has had 250 million to work with. The first round this year, the State House limited it to 100 million. So that instantly cut everything in half or more. So you've got a bunch of contractors that are going, I need stuff to do.
Mhm.
So if they put another 75 million, which was the last number I heard at the State House, onto this, that puts us still less than normal. But if it gives us the ability to get some of these in. And again, the difference is a few months. Ultimately, right now, you're still waiting on CCMG 2025, or we're still waiting because we pulled it off your plate. We're still waiting on CCMG 2025 to finish. We had some payouts in 25, but once they get back to paving and get back to finishing up what they don't have done on the concrete work, then we'll have that lump sum payment. I guess it's May or June at this point, but maybe it's because it feels like winter outside again.
I mean, we can't make any commitments till we know what the numbers are and the timing, so.
Like I said, the biggest commitment for me today would be let's proceed with engineering. And
That's not wasted money, so I don't see any reason to not do that.
I'm not telling you, you know, one way or another. I'm just giving you options. Another thought I had, if this is something you want to do, I mean, right now, we've talked about using Silgan this year, right? Making some changes to put that fund to use this year. Another thing we could do to alleviate Burkhart in future years, once again, shift some O'Brien to Silgan for 27 and 28. That frees up cash in Burkhart. Like if our bottom level on Silgan, we don't want to dip below 50. Well, that means next year we have 180 to work with, and 28. Like, you see what I'm saying?
But we're only projected now, at the end of 26, at 111,000 in Silgan.
Correct. I'm not talking about for this year necessarily. I'm saying it alleviates the 630 for next year. It just shifts additional cost in future years over to Silgan. It's still, in my opinion, things are going to get tight if you want to do this. I'm just telling you, here's another way that we could potentially do this. But we may get to the point where, we have to do a ban or a bond. But it moves the needle closer to making it possible.
I still think it's physically responsible to not get stretched out there too far, and like you said, probably let's look at a number to see if it's worth even considering.
And the cost to borrow is pretty significant.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Probably outweigh the cost savings to do it sooner.
I agree.
So is that all you need in terms of
You
input
guys are
from
good
us?
with moving forward with engineering?
I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell those guys to continue working and get it done so we can find out whether or not our numbers make sense.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anything else?
I do have just a question. If we need to update the school system, I know that they come and presented about tennis courts, and we told them that we needed to sort some things out, and I believe the mayor had a discussion with Talmadge about possibility of doing something, but in light of where we're at, do we see that there's even a possibility of considering anything for a while? Or do we need to update them and just tell them, hey, we're not going to be able to even consider anything, so that they're not planning on a possibility in a couple, 3 months?
Yeah, I don't think there's any way cash flow for 26 works. I think what was discussed was helping them with a bond issue. Share the cost with, us borrowing for 10 years or something like that, so. But I don't think we're in a position to do anything in 2026.
Yeah. I just didn't know where we left it with them, if we needed to give them any kind of update with our.
Fair point. I'll call Talmadge. Okay, thank you. All right, anything else? Not, would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
A motion and second. We're adjourned.